Hello, children, good morning. I miss you a lot, and I hope that you might be missing your friends, your classmates, your chatting, all type of masti, your ground. But doesn't matter, soon we all will be back to school to enjoy when the things are going to be normal very soon. So, in this chapter, A Thing of Beauty is written by John Keats, and John Keats is known for his nature poems. So in this poem also he has told us about nature. What pleasures does a beautiful thing give us? Are beautiful things worth treasuring? A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quiet for us and asleep, full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. So, in this poem, John Keats, as I have already told you, that is a nature lover, and he expresses nature in a very beautiful form. He says that all beautiful objects are a source of eternal. They will always give you happiness and joy. Their beauty keeps on increasing with the passage of time, and it doesn't fade away. Rather, its memory is imprinted in our mind and keeps us cool and quiet, which in turn leads to a sound sleep full of sweet dreams. This sound sleep brings mental peace and keeps us healthy too. So, according to him, whenever you remember any beautiful object, any beautiful thing which you have seen in the past, or whenever you recall it, it always gives you pleasure. It not gives you only pleasure, but beautiful things are a source of inspiration to you, to human being. That's why he says that a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases, it multiplies, it adds. It will never pass into nothingness, means its beauty never fades away, but will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. So he says that a bower is a shelter. He says that beautiful thing is just like a shelter for us, which leads to a very sound sleep. Sound sleep leads to a sweet dream, good health, and obviously you will live your life with enthusiasm. In this next stanza, he says, therefore, on every morrow are we bridling a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence of the inhuman dearth of noble natures, of gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over darkened ways. So, what he says, therefore, on every morrow means morning, are we wriggling? Wriggling means we are knitting, we are making. So he says that that's why we should be very much close to nature, and that's why he says that on every morning we should knit, we should wreath a flowery band, we should make a flowery garland to bind us to the earth. Earth means to nature. That's why he says to associate with nature we should wreath, wreath or knit a flowery garland. Spite of despondence means disappointment, of the inhuman dearth means lack, L-A-C-K, lack, of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over darkened ways made for our searching. So he says that in spite of disappointment, in spite of lack of noble souls or noble people around us. In spite of gloomy days means dark days, when the when we face such situation, tough situation, of all the unhealthy and over darkened ways made for our searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. So he says that in spite of disappointment, in spite of gloomy days, sad days, in spite of lack of noble souls around us, okay, still, yes, there are some shapes of beauty which moves away the pall of sadness from our heart, from our spirits, from our soul. Okay, so he says that though we are disappointed, though we are very sad, though it may be a very tough situation, but in spite of all this, if we just look towards the beautiful things remove all the sadness from our heart. And such beautiful things are the sun, the moon, trees old and young sprouting a shady boon. Sprouting means producing a shady boon. Boon means blessing. For simple sheep. So what he says that what type of objects are there which can remove the sadness from our heart. This is very important from the examination point of view also. Such are sun, moon and trees. And very next he says that trees old and young sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. So he says that the trees are the boon, are the blessing for the simple sheep, because during summers when it's very scorching heat, at that time sheep and the other animals they take shade under the tree. So the tree are the blessing for them. That's why he says it's a boon for them. Okay, so I think up till here it's very much clear to you. And such are daffodils with the green world they live in. So he says that such are the daffodils. We all know daffodils is a name of a flower. So he says that such are the daffodils with the green world they live in. They live in the green world. Green world means in the forest, in the greenery. And clear and clear rills. Rills mean the stream. Okay, so he says that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. So what he says? He says that the daffodils grow in the forest, in the green world, and the clear rill or the clear streams that convert the hot season into the cool one. We have seen that how the streams when they fall from the high from the mountain, how it's very cool water. So how it when it just flows into the grass, into the fields, how it changes the hot season into the cool one. That's why it says that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. So the clear rills changes the hot into the cool one. The mid forest brake, BRAKE brake, it's not the brake that we use in vehicle. Here the brake is the bushes. Okay, so what he says that the mid forest brake rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. So he says that the mid of the in the mid of the forest the bushes are there, and they are sprinkled, they are scattered with the musk rose. This is the name of the flower. That the mid of the forest where one can find the bushes, that bushes are just filled with the they are filled or they are scattered with the musk rose flowers, they are blooming there. And such too is the grandeur of the dooms. Grandeur is the magnificent, dooms is the destruction. We have imagined for the mighty dead. Mighty dead is the can be the soldiers. So what he says here, that not only in the beautiful objects, but we can find beauty in the death also. John Keats now describes the literary beauty, the beauty which is found in the tales of mighty and powerful people who are no more in this world now. The stories of their bravery, which we have heard or read, inspire us to be brave and courageous like those people. So he says that we should be inspired by the mighty people, by the powerful people, those who sacrifice their life for the country. So we should be very much inspired by them also. So beauty lies in that also. All lovely tales that we have heard or read. So whatever he has spoken till now, what he has spoken till now, he has spoken about sun, moon, trees, daffodils, musk rose, and about mighty, about the warriors, about the mighty death. So he says that whatever tales he has told us about till now, and an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring unto us from the heaven spring. So he says that all the beautiful things has been given by us, has been given to us by God. This is considered as endless fountain of immortal drink. Okay, pouring unto us from the heavens brink means the edge. So all the beautiful things has been given to us by God, and they refer, means they are the endless beauty has been poured onto us from heaven. They are the ones, they are the eternal source of inspiration to us, which has been given to human beings by God. So in this entire poem, what has been described about the beautiful things, that how the beautiful things can be the source of inspiration for us. Okay, so it's very easy, children. Just you have to read it twice, thrice, just revise this. See, now let's discuss with poetic device also. Here you may see such the sun, the moon. Okay, this is alliteration. S and S is repeated here. Cooling coward. Here also k sound is repeated, so it's alliteration. Again we have an endless fountain of immortal drink. This is hyperbole. Hyperbole means anything which has been given in an exaggerated form, that is called hyperbole. I hope that you might have understood the poem very well. Thank you.